Welcome, this is Scott from My Life's Reward. This week I'm showing a video of a boat that I picked up last year in the late summer. I did do a video fishing on this boat last year, but I haven't had a chance to introduce it on the channel yet, and this is that video. It's a 2017 ALUMACraft Competitor 175. It's a console. They do make a tiller, a console, a dual console. This is a single console. I did have a boat before, and it was a ALUMACraft 2000 Ultima 182. When I compare the two boats, the one that I had and the one that I have now, this is about 4 inches shorter, but about 2 inches wider. So they're comparably about the same base, but this boat uses the base so much more efficiently. And it is a very solid boat, much more solid than the ALUMACraft that I had. The hull is designed differently. It goes through waves so much better than the ALUMACraft ever did. So I'm pretty pleased with this boat, the way it sits. The trailer has a split tongue on it. So right in the middle there, you have a pin that you can remove, and then you can hinge where the ball mount is away, so you can get that little bit more space in your garage or wherever you're storing it. I did add this bow strap in addition to the chain keeper that keeps the boat from falling off the back, but the bow strap keeps it from bouncing up and down if it's loosely winched up to the roller, and that makes that nice, plus a little bit more added security. There were a couple of side marker lights that I ended up replacing right ahead of the wheel on this side, and then just to the left, which is off the screen. The one to the left burned out, and then this one on the right was a casualty of the tire going flat and busting apart. And those were Goodyear tires. Goodyear, that's you, on both sides in the spare. And there was a recall on those tires. Of course, because I'm not the original owner, it didn't apply to me. So I bared the bill on that solely, and replaced both tires. The Goodyears were load C's, these are load D's, so I'm a little more peace of mind for me. And then I also did the same tire on the spare, which is on the other side, and you'll see that in a few minutes. There are bearing buddies on this trailer as well. The side guide boards did come with galvanized lag screws that were somewhat loose, so I bumped the size up one and replaced them with stainless steel on both sides. This spare tire came with the boat. The rubber was replaced when the other two tires on the axles were replaced from Goodyear to Carlisle's. So all three are brand new at a load D rating. At the back of the trailer, we have a transducer for the Humminbird Helix 9, which you'll see in a few minutes. There's a ladder, and there's a bunker strap right to the left of the light. There's also one on the other side, and those are self-retracting. And, well, they're retracting with a button, and then they store within the retracting mechanism itself. Over where you see the drain plug at the V part, to the right is a hole there that is a drain, and that goes to the live well. And I'm putting that out right now, and that did have a plug-in and a red plug that if it wasn't in there, the boat took on water at a very slow rate from the live well pumps that were defective, cracked from freezing. And there was also a hose that went from the stern to the bow to the front live well that had a crack in it, and that caused some seepage into the bilge. Now with all that fixed and replaced, that doesn't need a plug anymore, and the boat is watertight. The only time water ever enters the bilge is if I have ice in the cooler. I believe that drains directly into the bilge when it melts. The transom saver came with the boat. The boat came with two motors. The outboard, which is a Mercury Pro XS 115 horsepower 4-stroke, and this Minn Kota Tarova 80-pound bow trolling motor. The sticker that I'm showing here now was cracked and had a hole in it, and I replaced it, and it cost like $2 to $3. What you typically see with these bow mount motors is they're so long because they have to go down in the water, and they have to go from the bow down, and you want them deep enough in the water so they don't cavitate, is when they're in the stow position like this one is now, it bounces up and down when you're going down the road, or even when you're on the water and you're going over waves, it just bounces. I did add this ram mount using this ALUMACraft track mount proprietary bracket. I think 3 of them came with the boat, and I just drilled some holes through them to mount the ram mount that you'll see on the other side here. And then the extender, and then the clamp that actually goes on the motor itself. The trolling motor has a spot lock feature, and using this antenna, this Minn Kota GPS antenna, is able to detect where you are with the GPS waypoints, and the motor will do its thing to keep you at what they call a GPS anchor, and works quite nice, especially if you're trying to fish and keep your boat on one spot. It's a nice looking console here with everything laid out. This is all the way it was when I bought it. The Hummingbird, the gauges, the buttons, and the radio were all already in place. The Infinity sound system has many different applications on it. It has Bluetooth, Sirius XM, a radio, AM/FM radio, and then some other odds and ends. A close-up of the buttons for the boat. The master power, I really like that a lot. I can turn that off and I don't have to worry about anything being left on and draining the battery. That's nice. The navigation light and anchor light, if I have it pushed on the top, all the lights are on the bow and the stern. If I just have it pushed down, then just the anchor light is on the stern, the white light. And I have a courtesy light button, and then the ACCs for accessories. That's nice to turn on things like in the front of the boat, or just extras that might be there that maybe you want the master power on, but you don't want to have to worry about the accessories, and you turn that off. That's nice. Bilge, pretty self-explanatory there. We have the aerator, we have a manual setting and then an auto timer setting to help with the battery life. And then the horn. This Hummingbird Helix 9 came with the boat. It has side imaging, down imaging, the GPS capabilities, and it did come with the Great Lakes chip that is installed and makes for the nice GPS navigation in all the waters of Michigan, Great Lakes, and all the inland lakes. Moving away from the dash console, this Hummingbird is a Helix 7. It only has down imaging, GPS navigation. But what I've done with this is I've hooked it to the other Hummingbird, the Helix 9, with the Ethernet. It now supports anything that the Helix 9 does. So now it has down imaging capability like it did before, side imaging. It can access the Great Lakes chip that's in there, of course, water temperature and all that it has, but I can share waypoints, and I like that. I like being able to do searches as I drive with the Helix 9, and then if I store some waypoints, I know that they're going to be up front for me when I need them, or vice versa. If I store waypoints on the Hummingbird up front, it'll be on the Helix 9 at the driver's seat. So nice setup. There seems to be a lot of complaints out there about how Hummingbird has done this with needing the pigtails to go from the Ethernet to the other connector. You need that on both ends, and then the connector, the cable in between. And they added an additional maybe $50 for the pigtails. And there seems to be a lot of consternation about that with people. I suppose that's something that's worth talking about. I did find it very, very easy to do this, to make this work. So I did appreciate that. So thank you, Hummingbird. We have a live well up front. Sorry, this is out of frame. And then the control for it to either bring in fresh water or recirculate if you have it on a trailer and you're bringing fish back home. And then we have the rear live well, the stern live well, and then the same type of valve control for fresh water in or recirculating the water that's already in there. For storage, we have lots. ALUMACraft has done a nice job here in the bow on the left side, port side. We have this storage that's just ahead of the bow live well. And then we have this next storage on the bow starboard side. And that's where I put my life jackets. The other, I put a lot of my baits and things for fishing. And then we have this fishing rod storage thing, which is really nice. Keeps the fishing poles out of the way, but they're nicely tucked in here. And there's a space for some other things like the remote control for the trolling motor and various other things that you can fit in here. Beneath where the fishing rods are pictured here, we have a little panel that you can pull up, and that's where the 2 batteries are stored for the trolling motor. That's a 24-volt system. Additional storage on the port underneath the bow platform. There are 2 drawers, one on the port side and one on the starboard side underneath the driver's console. And they're nice little drawers that you can put various stuff in, and they click into place, lock in real nice. Also in the bow on the starboard side, right ahead of the console, is this storage area, and it holds the trickle charger for the trolling motors, and so it supports 3 batteries. I only have a 24-volt system, so I do have a spot for, I could run cables back to the main battery and have it trickle charge that as well. That's just not in place yet, something that I'm thinking about doing. Additional storage on the port side midsection. I have this nice little spot for tackle, got a cooler right here, and then there's a drain plug underneath, and I believe that drains right directly into the bilge, but I'm not 100% on that. And then we have additional storage in behind the cooler on the port side again to store other things. There's lots of storage on this boat. On the stern, we have this back rear compartment. It'd be closer to the port side with the main battery, and then additional storage. There I could put 2 batteries in there, or a bigger battery if I wanted to. And then right above that, we have the port for not only the fuel for the main motor coming from the gas tank, but for an auxiliary motor. If you wanted a kicker, there's a spot for that to run a fuel line there. And then what I've already shown is on the opposite side, the starboard side, we have the live well that's already been shown. On the starboard side, we have additional storage for longer items like fishing poles. It has sleeves built in here as well to tuck in the tips of the fishing poles and the handle end, and then you can put other longer things in here. And this is directly to the right of where you would sit at the steering wheel. I added these tie downs that are on the bow, both the port and the starboard side. There were 2 others on each side, but they were just not close enough to the front to really help when you launch the boat or want to bring it back on the trailer. So I added these 2. In addition to the main seat that's in front of the console that's fixed, there are 2 additional seats that can be removed. Passenger seat, then there's one here alongside the main console seat that can be removed and put on the stern for somebody that'd like to fish up top there right ahead of the motor. And then we have the bow light and the stern light. That concludes the tour of the boat, and this was more of a preemptive video to show you the boat. And next year, my plans are to include some videos that are related to some fishing. I like to smallmouth, largemouth, walleye, and I want to experiment with some vertical jigging with lake trout. And so I'd like to maybe do some videos on those next year, and we'll see what happens. But with that, hey, I want to thank you for taking the time to watch this video. And until next week, take care.